Body Rappers Angela Luzio is happy to sponsor this episode of Conversations on Dance. Body Rappers Angela Luzio is known for its durable and soft total stretch tights and Angela Luzio shoes. New to the Angela Luzio shoe collection is the Instant Fit 4-Way Total Stretch Canvas Ballet Slipper and the Instant Fit 4-Way Total Stretch Canvas Y Strap Half Sole. Make sure to try them on at your local dance retail store and see why they are called Instant Fit. And while you're there, take a look at Tyler Peck's beautiful and unique leotards that move perfectly with the body and won't ride up in the back. You may view the products at bodyrappers.com or at your favorite dance retail shop or online store. To review and buy the entire collection of Tyler Peck designs, go to dancewearcorner.com. This episode is sponsored by San Francisco Ballet. I'm Rebecca King-Ferraro.
And I'm Michael Breeden, and you're listening to Conversations on Dance.
This week, we are joined by Katita Waldo, Ballet Master with San Francisco Ballet. Katita trained at San Francisco Ballet School prior to joining the company in 1988 and then going on to become principal dancer in 1994. She performed principal roles in a diverse repertoire of works by acclaimed choreographers including George Balanchine, William Forsythe, Lar Lubovitch, Helgi Tomasson, and Christopher Wheeldon before retiring in 2010. In 2008, artistic director Helgi Tomasson asked Katita to serve as ballet master for 2 world premieres. These opportunities led her to a full-time appointment to the position upon her retirement. Today, we talk with Katita about her career, her first experiences in the front of the room setting ballets, adjusting to her new role as ballet master, her process for learning ballets before coming into the studio, and her role in the Unbound festival. Katita, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
We're so happy you're running from the Opera House in between your rehearsals.
We're going to let you go in a little bit so you can get back over there.
Indeed,
but,
indeed.
We'll be sure to enjoy this time together. So we want to just start at the beginning about your dance training. You were born in Spain. How did your love and dedication to ballet bring you to the U.S. at a young age?
Well, my parents were both American, and we were in Spain, and I started dancing there and fell in love with dancing there. And then when we moved back to the United States, or they moved back to the United States, it was new to me. I just wanted to keep going. So I did. I just wanted to dance.
And how old were you when you moved back?
11.
11, okay.
So you arrived at the San Francisco Ballet School after a stint at North Carolina School of the Arts and some time at the Washington Ballet.
Yes.
What were those experiences like for you, and how did you end up ultimately choosing San Francisco Ballet?
Those were amazing experiences for me. North Carolina School of the Arts was like Hogwarts. Once that came out, I was like, oh, that's what it was like for me, but without the magic. Except that ballet was magic. So what can I say? So so that was incredible, and I just had so much fun. And Washington Ballet was transitionary period,
and that happened.
And it happened, yeah. And I learned a lot. I think that one of the things that was amazing was working with Chusango before he passed away. And it gave me an incredible appreciation of more contemporary ballet. Right. So that was that. And then I actually came to San Francisco because my boyfriend lived here.
Amazing.
and that's why I came.
Yeah.
And he's now my husband, so it worked out. I made the right decision, and So, and we have an 18-year-old son. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So that was why I came out. And Helgi had just taken over the company. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing about it really, other than having read that he was taking over. And I think I'd read an article about Evelyn Cisneros, and I just came out. I fell in love with San Francisco. Yeah. I was already in love with my husband, who wasn't my husband then. And I said, let's give it a go. Yeah. And fell in love with the company and have never wanted to be anywhere else.
Yeah. So we saw in an article that your parents didn't want you to go to SAB because they were worried about what it might do to your hips, presumably. True. About the turnout.
True.
Focus on turnout. Was that something that disappointed you, or did North Carolina School of the Arts kind of give you that Balanchine style you were looking for?
I did not disappoint me. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't know much about any of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I got to work with amazing New York City ballet dancers. I got to work with Mimi Paul. She was one of my teachers at NCSA. Right. So I did get to work on Balanchine type work, Melissa Hayden, Marina Glevsky. Mm-hmm. So I think
you still got it.
I got what I needed to do, and it actually ended up that most of my repertoire here, a large portion of it, has been Balanchine work. Mm-hmm. So
So what were your early years like with the company that leading up to your promotion to principal in 1994?
God, a long time ago. It was great. It was fantastic. I actually came out, I'd auditioned for the company in Washington. No, I auditioned for the school, and they said, "Why don't you go and audition for the company next week in New York?" So I was, screaming down the hallways, "Ah!" And my parents were like, "Okay, I guess we'll take you to New York." And I auditioned for Helgi there, and he said he was really interested, but he didn't have a position. So if I could come out, and he'd take me into the school. So my first year here was actually in the school, and I worked with a company, and I did Nutcracker and that kind of thing, and kind of broke into that gently. And it was great. I mean, from the get go, I danced a ton, so I was always out there, and I was always on stage, and it just went from there. And I really treasures everything. My first principal role was while I was in the corps, and it was, speaking of New York City Ballet, it was Peter Martin's Calcium Light Night, which was
we did that in Miami the other year.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yeah.
That thing
Oh
was
my
so
gosh.
hard. Yeah.
I can't imagine. We didn't dance it,
We
but
had,
watching that.
and we had a situation where there were two casts, and the second cast got injured. So one girl did something like 12 shows of
Oh
it
God.
in a row. I mean, whew.
I started taking aerobics when we were doing that because I had no stamina. I was like, I got to do something. So I started doing that. And then I kept getting opportunities. And so it just.
What was your first full-length ballet that you did with the company?
Swan Lake.
Oh, wow.
How old were you?
No, I'm sorry. I'm so wrong. Oh my God.
Oh no.
What am I thinking? It was actually Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
Okay, because that's really an easier one.
Yeah, much. Maybe that's why I blocked it out. Swan Lake was my second, but it was Swan Lake. Swan Lake is the reason I became a ballet dancer in the first place. So that's the ballet I always wanted to do, and so that's why that one comes to mind.
What was it like to tackle something of such magnitude, being, the lead dancer, anchoring this entire evening of dance? What was that like for you? How did you approach it?
Well, I mean, Sleeping Beauty is kind of a blur. I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified.
How old were you? So like very early in your career?
I think I cannot remember. I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 19 or 20 something.
Okay.
No, maybe older than I don't know. I can't remember. But
early on.
Yeah, but early on. And it was, I had so much inspiration from the dancers that had gone before me and that were doing it at the same time as I was doing it. So, and I loved the technique and the precision and the style of Sleeping Beauty. In terms of an approach, I just tried to tell the story the best that I could and dance it the best that I could. And that was kind of my basic motivation. Swan Lake, was actually different because Helgi originally I was not on the radar for that ballet, and I was desperate to do it. So I convinced him to give me a shot at trying. And I ended up doing a couple performances, but we were also working on other ballets at the same time. And I remember, we were working on a ballet called Terra Firma. That's a James Kudelka ballet. That's another one of those Calcium Light Night, kill yourself, you're so tired.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was awful. And we were at Zellerbach actually at the time. And, I would dance Terra Firma. I remember there was one particular day I had to dance Terra Firma in the afternoon. And then I was supposed to have a rehearsal for Swan Lake in between shows with Ashley. No big deal. It was just, to mark through stuff and everything. And Helgi showed up.
Oh,
so of course I had to do.
It?
It was early days, and I had to prove to him that I could do this, and so of course I had to do it full out, and then I had to do Terra Firma that night.
Oh my!
And
gosh.
I remember sitting in the bus, almost passed out. And the day of my show, I had a Sunday matinee, and I came to the theater and I passed out before class. I lay down and I was out. I was out, and I remember. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the intermission before the third act, and I couldn't even practice anything. I was so tired. I was like, I can't even practice.
Do you think that sometimes it makes you dance better when you're that tired?
I do.
You can't get in your head. And you just go out and you have to just do it.
And that's what happens. I remember I was standing there holding my partner's hand before the big entrance in the third act, and I'm looking at him and I'm literally thinking, how am I I don't know that I can. How am I going to do this? And I had a great show.
Yeah.
And I had so much fun, and I had all the energy in the world, and it was awesome. So
that adrenaline.
Such a good
exactly.
feeling.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love that. So long story.
No, I like
great
that.
Story.
I also, I love that you brought up that you were lobbying for yourself. So, I mean, some might look at your career, you had a beautiful career as a principal. You've danced with this company, you danced with the company for decades. And, but even principals have to sometimes make their case.
Oh yeah.
What do you think is valuable about dancers going in and saying, I think I should be given a shot. Why don't I work hard and show you? I
think it's important. I mean, sometimes, this is a hard profession. It honestly is not a meritocracy. It's not. Ultimately, it's a performing art. It's a visual art, and it comes down to personal taste. Right. And the hardest thing for a dancer is to not take things personally.
Right.
And if you go in there knowing, that you wouldn't be where you are if you weren't liked.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't be in this company if they didn't like you.
Right.
You wouldn't be a principal if they really didn't like you.
Right.
So, know that going in, and then if you feel that you can do something in a way that is worthwhile, absolutely go and try. Mm-hmm. And if the director then decides, no, I just don't see you in it, try not to take that personally. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard. I know that's really hard, but I think it's very important, because just because this person doesn't see you in X doesn't mean somebody else wouldn't see you in X. And you just have to know that, and hope that your vision and your director's vision of yourself matches somewhat, and that it will work out.
And it's always nice to have an artistic director too, who will maybe acknowledge, like, oh, I didn't see that, but now I do, and I liked it. You know?
I mean, who doesn't like to be surprised? I know when I go to the ballet and I see someone who maybe isn't my all-time favorite, and they change something in your mind. I love that.
Oh,
feeling.
It's exciting. It's really exciting.
To see the evolution.
Yeah.
So in 2004, while still dancing, you had your first taste of the role of Ballet Master when you set Yuri Posakov's Margarita Mania on the Bolshoi.
Yes.
So not only is this your first time in a new role, but it's also in Russia with dancers you don't know. What was that experience like for you? Was that ever overwhelming, or were you just excited for a new role?
I was just excited. I mean, I had a lot of time to prepare, so I was very prepared when I went. It was amazing to be in a different dance culture, and it's a very different dance culture, and it was a huge challenge. But it was also, in a way, it was liberating that I was working with people that I don't work with, because I was free to.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I was free to say, you're not going to do the ballet. Sorry. To a principal dancer, which I had to do. And again, that's one of those things. It wasn't personal. It wasn't a right fit, but that was still hard.
Sure.
And it wasn't, because it wasn't my company and it wasn't my people. It wasn't people that I knew, and I could just say sorry. Yeah. And I could also yell at them, which I had to on a couple of occasions, in ways that I couldn't necessarily do here.
Right.
What were some of the ways that it was different as a dance culture?
Well, in Russia, and I'm still not quite sure how this one works, but they get paid per performance. So that's what I've been told. So the salary that they get is very small, and then they get extra money for performances. And you would think, or I would think, that would make like the second and the third cast want to push,
right?
Because they'd get it. But for some reason that doesn't work. And I found it very difficult to get a second and a third cast to really commit to working. And I think partly it's because I guess a lot of times the second and third cast don't get on.
Right.
So they just
know, they're like,
so they don't want to try. But I had a hilarious experience. There was one of the guys that I was working with, a young guy in the corps, and he looked so upset, so uncomfortable, like he hated my guts. In every rehearsal, I was like, and it was like morose and stomping around, and, it was really hard to get him to do anything. Right. And at the end of the whole process, they had a big party, and he came up to me, gives me this huge hug, and tells me, it was so great. I so enjoyed working with you, and I enjoyed this process. I was like, okay. Yeah. So different.
That's
different.
That.
Did you take something away from that, though? Just maybe that the way a dancer looks and acts maybe isn't necessarily what's happening inside?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it's actually been very interesting to be a ballet master in this company and to see exactly the same thing.
Right.
Where there are dancers sometimes that I think that they're miserable and hate me, and I know them well enough now to know that that's absolutely not the case.
Right.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah, a friend of ours, Zoe Zion, who was in the company with us at Miami City Ballet, she just set one of Justin's ballets, Justin Peck, for the first time. And she said there was a dancer kind of like that she was like, this girl just seemed really unhappy. And I was questioning things. And then I was like, you know what? It's not my job to wonder if she likes me. She's doing the role really well.
Right.
And at the end, I think that the girl was like, thank you, it was great. So you have to...
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder how I came across when I was a dancer. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to ask you
wonder.
that. I think about that all the time too, because we've started teaching now too. And I'm kind of like, I mean, I know I always had like a really focused face and was just kind of like a little zoned out. And I'm like, does everyone think I was terrible and had an attitude?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder that with talking.
And how much you can see from the front,
Exactly.
too.
Yes,
that
that when you think
you
they
presume
can.
that, I'm in the back and no one knows what I'm doing, or I'm talking.
Well, you see it, right? You see
everything.
Yeah.
Attention dancers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely see that. Yeah.
That's so funny. We want to take a moment to talk to you about AKA Ballet. If you are in the Dallas, Texas area, listen up. AKA Ballet is a collaborative project that includes 3 Dallas choreographers, Albert Drake, Haley Von Slayenreed, and Carter Alexander, who will each create 2 new works. The project's creative process will take place in July and then culminate in a public performance at the Dallas Latino Cultural Center on July 27th. In addition to an incredible 6 new works of dance, the project will feature live music throughout the evening, including a ballet to a commissioned score by Dallas composer Martin Morgan. To make the performance accessible to the entire Dallas community, admittance to the performance will be free. That's right, free. As our chat with Sarah and Jody is illustrating, new works are so important, not just for the choreographers creating them or the dancers who grow from each experience, but for the audience who is inspired by them. There are multiple ways to help support AKA Ballet and bring this inspiring project to the Dallas community. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help raise funds to cover costs associated with the project, and on July 27th, audience members are invited to support AKA Ballet. To give now and for more information on the project, visit gofundme.com/AKA Ballet 2018. If you have a dance-related performance or event that you would like to draw attention to through the podcast, please email us at info@conversationsondancepod.com. Can you tell us a little bit about if you always thought that being a ballet master was really what you wanted to do?Id you always have your eye on it as a career transition?
No, absolutely not. I considered doing all sorts of other things. I wanted to be a writer. I love acting. I still haven't given up on that one necessarily. And I actually, at one point, I talked to Helgi about being the director of the school downstairs. I was like, I think I really want to do that. And now I know absolutely, God no, would never want to do that. Just way too much work. But I didn't know I wanted to do it until I set Magritte Mania. And then when I was working in Russia, I'd work, 6-7 hours in a row without a break. And back then I was dancing a lot. So I demonstrated everything I was doing. And I'd come home just dead. And I loved it.
Right.
I loved it. I was never bored, not for a second. And it's actually, that's what I like the most is setting a piece, working on a piece, working with especially the younger dancers or to try and get a piece together. I love doing that. So
what are some of the elements about the ballet master role that surprised you that you maybe hadn't anticipated? Oh, there's this challenge.
Yeah, it's a lot more work than I wanted to do and expected to have to do. A lot more. But it's also really rewarding. I enjoy learning choreography. I actually find I love working in the studio watching choreographers work, but I actually really, really enjoy learning. Like, we had to work on Sleeping Beauty, and I was assigned the dryads in the second act, which I'd never really done. And I had to learn it off the video. And I really enjoyed that process of learning it off the video. Because sometimes when you're working with a choreographer, there's not much for you to do.
Right.
Because you're trying to keep track of everything, but you can't really learn everything.
Right.
You have to wait to learn it later. And there's a lot of sitting and trying to write stuff down, but you don't quite get it. And you have to run the machine if there's a machine and not a pianist. And that's kind of, it can be tedious.
Yeah.
And I like the activity of actively learning it to teach.
Yeah.
So, what are some differences between staging a ballet you danced 100 times, let's say, versus this choreographer came in, I'm the ballet master for it, I know it, and then I have to go teach it to a new company.
Right.
What is that like?
Well, obviously, when it's a piece that you've done yourself, you have your own interpretation and you're teaching your material and it's in your body.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's a piece that you haven't done that a choreographer set, you have to make it yours in a way. And you have to learn every single part, every person's part, and you have to make it the entire ballet your part. So that's a different thing. But also you get to learn a ballet in a completely different way. As a dancer, you're looking at only your part or the parts you learn, and that's it. But when you're a ballet master, you can see the structure. You can see how things work.
See the whole picture.
Exactly. And like working on the Balanchine as a ballet master is incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible because a lot of his ballets seem so complex. And when you break it down and you see exactly what everything is, they're so simple.
Right.
So much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're so sensible and musical and clear and precise. And the craft is just extraordinary.
Right.
So
you're talking about a lot of the work that you're doing. Can you take us through kind of the process that you would go through if you're learning a new ballet, let's say off a video, and you're preparing to get into the studio? What is that process like for you? How much time do you spend, and how do you document everything?
it depends on the ballet. It depends on how big a ballet it is. With the Dryads and Sleeping Beauty, you watch the video a couple times so you get an idea of what it looks like.
Sure.
And then I start to learn the material myself. And then I'll start to write it down. And usually the writing down is more for my brain to cement the steps into my brain, because especially when you go back and look at your notes later, you have no clue what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what is that? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
But then when you put it together with the video again, or you see the video, you remember the steps, and then what you wrote makes sense.
Right.
So,
do you spend time putting it into your body as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was
do.
going to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as I can. I have an ankle that's completely disabled, so I can't. I'm limited. I'm super limited in what I can do now. But I physicalize the upper body, and I'll get up and do the footwork. But I can't be as active that way as I wanted to be. But I've been really lucky. I pick up choreography really quickly. Not as quickly as some, but definitely it's thank God.
Yeah.
Because that would be hard.
Good for the job.
Exactly.
So you've been here with the organization for over 30 years?
I guess so.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
so
Seems crazy, but
what changes have you seen in the institution? How's it grown or evolved since you first got here?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because, obviously I just watching the ballets that I've been watching now, I'm blown away by the quality of the dancing. But I remember having dancers that I watched from my I've been in three eras of this company so far.
Right,
and, I got to watch Elizabeth Oscabio, and I got to watch Ellen Cisneros and Joanna Berman. And, hard to say, but I think that from when I first joined the company, the quality of the men has definitely improved. We have, the male dancers are extraordinary. When my first years in the company, we didn't used to do male variation and Nutcracker in the Cavalier, and that got put back in. Right. So that kind of thing. I think that the choreographers that we get are incredible. And I think I'm constantly in awe at the quality of the dancing, through every generation that I've been with. So
we're particularly interested to talk to you about this Unbound festival.
Yeah.
So we've heard a lot about how exciting it's been and busy for the dancers, how much the choreographers have loved the experience, but we want to talk to you about it from your perspective, where you're sitting in the studio working with the choreographers. So what has it been like for you, and which pieces are you working on?
It's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. I worked with Miles Thatcher, I worked with Annabelle Ochoa, and I worked with Ed Liang. And all completely different choreographers, completely different styles, and wonderful. Miles was a gift because I originally was only supposed to be in charge of 2 ballets. And when I found out I was going to be in charge of 3, I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
and Miles likes to do, he doesn't ask much of me other than that I collaborate in the ideas and that,
that's so nice.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen, right?
No, he was wonderful. I mean, Miles, the whole thing was a absolute collaboration, discussion, a lot of thinking about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve. And he was so, I mean, the reason there was nothing for me to do is because he absolutely knew every count, every second, came in with complete knowledge of what he wanted and what he was going to set. And it was great. So super clear.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it was the John Adams score. Otherwise, you would have been decoding that and,
yes, and
picking it apart.
And that, yeah, oh my God. And as it is, I'm grateful he's in the company because I don't know that I could have. He hears it the way that he hears it, and he counts it the way that he hears it. And even after all of these months, I still am not sure that I can count it the way that it needs to be counted for the ballet. So I'm really glad he's here. Annabella Choa was another one who absolutely clear, precise, and quick. She was so quick. I mean, she was here for 3 weeks and we were already doing full runs like by the second week.
Wow.
And it was so, she clean, clear. And Ed's was beautiful. I mean, it's a gorgeous ballet and fluid movement. That one was harder because the music the counts weren't as specific, and I ended up having to do a lot of the specificity of when something would happen, and just tidying things up, which was really fun.
Right.
And again, I had a great group of dancers to work with. So, I mean, they're all great. The whole company is great,
sure.
but I was really I really enjoyed my team. I was Team C. I think what was really weird about this festival is that because the company was split up into 3 groups. I ended up with the same group. Most of the Ballet Masters did. The dancers,
So
the
you guys
groups.
went with them.
Yeah, exactly. But that meant that I did not see the rest of the company
For a long
except
time,
for
right?
passing in the hallway.
Wow.
And that was bizarre.
Yeah.
And kind of
Yeah.
weird.
You
It was
miss them.
weird. Yeah, I do. I miss them. And I didn't get to work with some of the newer dancers as much as I wanted to. And that was I'm sad about that.
Next year.
Yeah. Well, we need to let you get back to rehearsal, so we're going to let you off after our final round of questions, which we call our lightning round.
All right.
And it's just little short questions.
Okay.
But, we're going to
You
go.
just answer with the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh boy.
So, what's your favorite ballet?
Swan Lake.
Great. Okay. What favorite work to coach?
I don't know yet.
That's fun. Is there a role that got away that you did not get to dance in your career?
Juliet.
Oh,
If you could come back to the stage tomorrow, what ballet would you dance?
Oh my God. I have no idea.
maybe Juliet. Maybe Romeo and Juliet.
Well, feeling the way I feel now.
No, we would give you a
you're
20-year-old
cute.
body.
Oh, a 20-year-old body?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Juliet for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Menon or something. Something super dramatic.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It was so
I love
wonderful
that
to talk to
thank
you.
inside
you.
view of
Yeah.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you for joining us this week. We will be back next Monday with an all-new episode. In the meantime, subscribe on iTunes so you'll automatically be notified when we publish a new episode. Follow us on Instagram at Conversations on Dance and on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Convo on Dance. See you next week. Thank you for listening.